You can't budget your way out of a money mindset that is deeply rooted in your past. Money Roots by Ally is flipping the script. It's not just about how you manage your money, it's about why you move the way you do. Free virtual workshops, real talk on money, values, love, and legacy. Let go of the shame, build new habits, live how you deserve to. Tap in at ally.com/moneyroots.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Chanel S. Reynolds, and you are tuning into a live special episode of the Success Playbook podcast. We're here live in New Orleans for the biggest weekend in football. Now, if you're new to the show, let me enlighten you. We talk about all things success using a lens of sports, and of course, we're going to use this as an opportunity to share stories of Black excellence and resilience. On this special episode, we get to talk about business, Black culture, and how those two merge and are infused into sports and entertainment. Get your popcorn, get your snacks, get whatever you got to get comfortable. We're about to have a dope conversation. Let's go. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Success Playbook podcast live here in New Orleans. So we're here for the biggest weekend in football. We're so excited. I have some amazing guests here with me today. Before we dig into that, I just want to give a special shout out to our sponsors. So thank you to Boys Town, Louisiana. Boys Town is making a difference in New Orleans. They provide essential services to help youth and families thrive, including intervention assessment, family home programs, early Head Start, and more. Learn more at Boys Town at boystown.org/Louisiana/services. Also want to give a special shout out to 1NA Alkaline Water with a 9.5 pH. 1NA is the water to guarantee that you keep glowing. Want to give a special shout out to HBCU Buzz. Shout out to, do y'all like my shirt?
Yeah. Love it.
Shout out to Stay True to my HBCU brand. Yeah. Shout out to them. That's my Delaware State University family. Thank you to the Black Excellence Society. And of course, to our media partners. Thank you, Fox Soul. And thank you to the Revolt Podcast Network. Let's give it up for our sponsors. All right, so without any other delay, I am so excited to have such esteemed guests sitting beside me. So, S.A., kick us off. Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Yes, I'm S.A. Gadosa. I am an experienced sports and entertainment attorney. And currently working in TV and film.
Awesome. Welcome, S.A.
And I'm from Kansas City, the home of the reigning Super Bowl champions, on our way to a three-peat on Sunday. Tune in.
I am Fred Anthony Smith, Senior Vice President of Unscripted at SMAC Entertainment. My background is producing and directing and show running, and I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit about what we do.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for making the time. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us.
That part and that part. I love it. Awesome. Well, again, I have such esteemed individuals here, and this segment of my show is called Put Some Respect on My Name.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
So for those in the audience who may not know who you are, your background, you all have a lot of big projects under your belt. You've done some amazing things. I've watched your careers over the years. So now's your time to talk heavy, right? So now is your time to tell us a little bit about some of the amazing things that you've done that has gotten you to where you are today.
Started my career in the National Football League straight out of law school. Honestly, rarely done, but I did it. Got there and was the first intern to work Pro Bowl in Hawaii when it was still bougie and not in Orlando. Started the first Black Employee Resource Group in the National Football League, Black Engagement Network. It is still going and thriving. Started the first Black ERG at an NFL team in Stride. I then went on to be president of House of Athlete and helped start the I Am Athlete podcast, which is the groundwork for most of your favorite podcasts today. They took the mold that I helped create. I've done a lot of dope things, and now I'm working in TV and film at one of the largest companies in the world. So I'm super blessed. Yeah.
So, S.A., I always tell you this, but any chance that I have an opportunity to give you your flowers, I do that. You paved the way so that you ran so I could sprint.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm always people don't know the impact that you've had, and I'm gonna always scream it from the mountaintops.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let me see. For 17 years, I was at the NFL Network, NFL Media, working very closely with this young lady over here. When I started off at the NFL, as far as black producers go, there weren't a ton of us. Matter of fact, I might have been the only one there. As I built and as we built over the course of those 17 years, there was a lot more when I left. And a lot of them were people that I personally hired. So I think about that and you know, I look back proudly on that because those are people that have spread out and are at the ESPNs of the world, and Netflix and everywhere else, and they're having success and they're thriving. But when we think about, and when I think about just recent success and what I'm proud of, working with Michael Strahan, working with Constance Schwartz-Marini, really building up their company. And I've been with them for 3 years now. And last September and October, I think a lot of the hard work that we'd been putting in really came to fruition. We had a premiere of the Evolution of the Black Quarterback doc-series.
So dope.
That I directed. I had the ability to direct, and we premiered that at the Apollo Theater.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is that when we were figuring out, okay, where do we want to do this? Amazon, who was our partner and who were very supportive on the series, they were like, the Apollo Theater, it's in Harlem, it's going to be tough to get press out there. That's 600 plus people that you have to fill that theater. And we were like, we have a project that we are very proud of. We have Michael Vick that was going to be there, Jalen Hurts was there. And we're like, we'll fill that thing. And that thing was overflowing.
Cool.
And when I think about that project, you know, there was a lot of doubt in regards to what we'd be able to pull off with Michael in that show. And I think of two stories when I think about that project. So we did an interview with Jamie Foxx. We did an interview with Colin Kaepernick. And as we know, Colin hasn't said much in 6 years. He has his doc, which will eventually come out. But when we reached out to Colin to do the doc, knowing that the answer was probably going to be no, he was like, well, who's doing the interview? So it's going to be Michael Vick. He said, let me know when you want to do it. So we got Colin to do it. And then with Jamie, Jamie originally agreed to do the series before he had his illness last year. And the week that we were scheduled to do it was when everything happened. So he's starting to get on the mend. And we reached out to his team and just let them know we're still going to find a way to honor Jamie. Mm-hmm. You know, even though we know that he's been battling this illness, we're going to find a way to honor him. And they said, do you still want to do it? Because he still wants to do it if you still want to have him. And me and Michael went over to Jamie's house, and they're doing the interview, and like Field of Dreams after the interview, he comes up to Michael on the side. He's like, "We throw the ball around with me." They're throwing the ball. Everybody's crying. Jamie's crying. His sister's crying. And those are the moments that we live for as Black storytellers, sharing our stories. Mm-hmm. And that's so important. So, look, I'm blessed to be able to share our stories, to work with Black talent. And I'm looking forward to the future because we have some things lined up for 2025 that we're really excited about.
I'm excited to hear about it, y'all. Let's clap it up for the success. As a sports and entertainment attorney, I've watched you make some very big waves in the industry. What is one negotiation that truly changed the game for you?
You know, I think there's two. One, when I was with the Carolina Panthers, I really got to also be a deal maker. And our stadium was Bank of America Stadium. They had that deal since, you know, the inception of the team. And new ownership came in and was like, why aren't we making money off of our stadium? Like, Bank of America just had an easy path. And so we did the first gate branded deal. So like, you know, you go to some stadiums and it's different brands at each gate. And so I was able to negotiate that. And Bank of America was not happy because they were like, wait a second, we've never had competition in Charlotte. And so that I really got to show my negotiating chops. And then going to be president of House of Athlete, making sure that, you know, the founder owned everything. I think a lot of times athletes get into business and they don't own anything. There's a white man that has told him or her that they own things, but they don't, and the paperwork they've never seen. Wow. And so one of my goals was to educate anybody that I work with, especially a Black male athlete, about everything that they're doing, super transparent, and you're gonna own everything when you leave. So no matter what happens, nobody can ever take it from you unless you give it to them. And I'm really proud of that because we did something that had never been done before. And usually when you see a Black athlete that is successful, there's a white person next to them. And I took a lot of pride being a Black woman under the age of 35 that was able to do that and help him build something that he's still getting paid for today. And so I take a lot of pride in that.
That's
I'm going to tell you something. So where I'm from, we call that Black History.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you know that.
I love it. I am sitting next to two historic Black figures. Y'all are just amazing. Y'all are
I'm still young now. He older than me.
It's still eats.
He's been doing it a lot longer than me, by the way. I'm just kidding.
So storytelling in the sports industry is very powerful. So how have you all seen media and entertainment really tell our stories effectively?
You said effectively?
Effectively, keyword.
So look,
That's like him saying there's levels to this.
Yes.
And everybody's not doing it on his level.
So, and we've all seen growing up movies where, you're telling the story of a historical Black figure, it's a Black story, but it's really told through the eyes of, of somebody white. I mean, remember the story of Glory where it's Denzel and Morgan Freeman and Andre Barr, but the main character is Matthew Broderick. I mean, we've seen numerous examples of that. Over the course of my career doing this, I've had pitches made to me about iconic Black athletes, but they're like, we want to do it with the owner who was there supporting them. So we have to be very careful and make sure that when we're telling our stories, that not only are there Black filmmakers behind it, but there's a Black support system behind those filmmakers and behind the film. The great thing about where we are now is you have so many athletes that are becoming educated and they realize that they have the power to tell their stories. And we're doing a lot of those at SMAC. I was starting to do that when I left the NFL or when I was at the NFL. And being able to tell your stories, through either your companies or through filmmakers that you vibe with and you feel supported by, that's so important. Because there's moments where, look, I'm just going to be honest, having a comfort level, whether it's crew, whether it's a filmmaker, you're going to allow people to share things that they may not share otherwise.
Yeah.
We've seen that, numerous times just in my career, going back to the Black Quarterback show that we did, there were so many moments, whether it was with Dion, whether it was with Jamie Foxx, Colin, Common, so many of the people that we sat down with. Not only was it Michael that was interviewing them, but as they looked around, there were Black faces in the crew. They felt that they were comfortable where they can share the things that they needed to share. We had a show, it's just ironic how it happened. We had Black Quarterbacks premiere in September, and we had Black Comedy in America premiere in October. And it was a similar sort of thing where, whether it was Dave Chappelle or Kevin Hart or we had the Kings of Comedy back together, Cedric and DL and Steve. And the fact that the crew was, I call them the Black Avengers, the fact that we had a crew that was there that was very good at their job, that we weren't just hiring people because we were trying to fill a quota, but we were hiring the best people for the job.
That part.
People felt comfortable.
Yeah.
And they felt comfortable to share where, people, when they sit down and they talk with you, their reps will be like, you got 10 minutes, you got 20 minutes, what have you. And we had the Kings for 2 hours. We had Will Smith, we did the Fresh Prince episode for an hour and a half. We had people whose time is extremely valuable, and every minute of their schedule is planned out. They just gave us time because they felt comfortable and they wanted to share, they wanted to talk. And I think it's not just the filmmaker, it's not just the company, it's so many things that lead to making people comfortable to share their stories. Because in reality, when you're having people and you're going into people's lives, they're telling you things more often than not that they're just not sharing with everybody. So you need to put them in a place to be comfortable to share. And I think that's something that again, we take as a responsibility when we're telling stories, especially our stories, but when we're putting projects together as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love what you said there, you're not just checking the box, you're finding the best people to do the work.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So in this final segment, I really want to dig a little bit deeper into both of your careers. So on the Success Playbook podcast, we have a saying called the art of taking L's, right? So we understand that the next level of success could be on the other side of failure or pivoting or just some sort of perceived weak moment that you may have experienced. So I would love to hear a little bit more about maybe a career-defining moment in which you had to pivot and how it thrusted you into your next level of success.
Well, I had a very public pivot that ended up with another podcast called The Pivot. I was running House of Athlete, and it was during a super tumultuous time in my personal life. I lost my mom 5 months into leaving the Panthers to run this company during a global pandemic. Crazy. And I got to do a lot of dope things, but at some point it became something that wasn't aligning with where I wanted to be in life and, who I wanted to do business with. And I think for me, it was the most publicity I'd ever had, the most clout I'd ever had, the most people following me that I didn't know at the time. And you have this professional FOMO. And I think a lot of people who work in sports and entertainment have professional FOMO. You're not paid what you're supposed to be paid. You're not being treated the way you're supposed to be treated, but you know that there is a line out the door of people who want to do what you're doing. And everybody has experienced that. And so I had to choose to walk away from something that I built with my bare hands. Like, me and my best friend is like, I've never seen you work as hard as you're working now, because I've always been work smarter, not harder. But in a startup, you can't. And so, leaving House of Athlete was bittersweet. I knew it was better for me personally, but you feel like you're walking away from something that maybe some other person's gonna benefit from. Like, people are like, hey girl, I know it was really bad, but you think he gonna put me on? Maybe I can come and do what you did? And I'm like, you just said you knew it was bad, but you still wanna, okay, cool. But that's what it is in this game. Everybody wants to be in your seat, and your seat is not as sexy as it looks. But now I'm getting paid more than I've ever been paid, and I'm getting treated with respect, and I'm still in these rooms that I want to be in based off of all the work that I did before. And I thought I was going to lose that when I walked away from House of Athlete. But when you stand on business, when you stand on integrity, and when you know that you're as good as you think you are, God is going to provide for you, right? And so I haven't lost a step since I left, but I thought I was gonna lose a lot more. And sometimes you do have to take an L, which I thought it was an L because I'm walking away from something that I built. But the win is everybody that says, damn, it ain't the same without you, Yeah. Hey, you wanna come run my company? You wanna help me build my platform? And then to work for the company I work for now, that's validation in itself. And so I think you just have to trust your gut, and also just check in with yourself. Where do you wanna be? What's important to you? And I learned the best lesson in the last few years doing
that. Man, but when I think about a loss in a pivotal moment in my life. So a couple years ago, me and my team at the NFL, and I had, over the course of the years, put together a team. And we were the special teams because we worked on special projects. So
he did all the cool shit. He produced anything cool you saw on NFL Network at the time. That was him. Just don't be humble.
So anniversaries, things of this nature. So we had, over the course of 5 or 6 years, we had put together this amazing team, and we were the team that was over the NFL media's NFL 100th anniversary, all of the content that came out for the NFL's 100th anniversary. So coming out of that, I was like, we need to keep this team together. And make this a permanent thing, because it was a team that would just mobilize for big events. And so we had the full presentation, the full pitch. This is how we see this going forward in the future. And everyone was like, yeah, that's good, that's cool, but we're gonna pass. We're gonna say no. And that was heartbreaking. It hurt a lot, but we're like, we're going to continue to do what we're doing. And we're going to find ways. We're not going to take no for an answer. We're going to continue to find ways to tell the stories that are important, to tell the stories about the athletes and also the team. One of the things that we did do, going all the way back pre-Kaepernick, was telling the stories of social justice. I remember one of the first things that we did was a story centered around Alton Sterling and his tragic murder, and we were able to get the Saints to invite his son and his family to a game. So I believe this was 2016. So we were doing a lot of that work. So fast forward to 2020. Fast forward to George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, all right, what do you guys got? What are you working on? What do you, how can we tell stories around this? And what are we gonna do? We had many meetings, many town halls, many conversations in 2020 when a lot of us got sucked into meetings, asking, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve this problem that you created? And I got up in the town hall and I said, me and my team, we're going to do the same thing we've always done.
Right.
you're just gonna pay attention now, and we're gonna be okay. And over the course of that year, we were able to put out some amazing content. We were able to sit down and honor many of the people over the course of the years that had been tragically killed and murdered by police violence. And it's funny, coming out of that year, one of the sisters that worked with me, she took me to the side and she was like, you know, I don't know how I feel about this. Were we taken advantage of? You know, did we, you know, a lot of people are getting credit for the work that we did. And what I told her, I said, you know, it doesn't matter. It's like when you hand money to the homeless person. What they do with it is on them. I was like, we did it for the right reasons. We did it because it needed to be done and because we wanted to do it. Whatever somebody else's motives, that's on them. That's between them and their God. But we did it for the right reasons. And we were able to celebrate and honor, you know, so many people that had tragically been lost. And we sleep better at night. But we also know that those stories and the true stories were put out into the world because of the work that we did.
Yes.
So.
And then, so Anthony, just to give you your flowers, so I did go to the premiere for Evolution of the Black Quarterback, and literally everybody I ran into from the NFL office said, yeah, I'm here to support Anthony. I'm here to support Anthony. He's doing amazing things. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to know who this person is because they're obviously brilliant. So congratulations on all the work that you've done and continue to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. So.
Very good.
So as we wrap up, give me, what is your success playbook? So what exactly helps you to be successful, helps you to thrive?
I mean, for me, it's always been authenticity, right? Like, I came into the league with my natural hair, with my bold lipstick, and I was myself. And at that time, a lot of the Black women were taking the approach, I want to blend in. I don't want to make any waves. I don't want to stand out. And I came in like, hey, Commissioner, like, hey, Commish. And he loved it. But he knew me because I didn't look like anybody else. I also was one of the only people that would speak to him in the huddle, which is our cafeteria. People would literally be like, oh my gosh, the Commissioner. And I'm like, hey, Commish, come on, get in line. And I was myself. I asked him for a one-on-one within 6 months of being there. I found out nobody does that. But he said, yeah, sure. And I had a one-on-one with him as a junior attorney. And everybody was like, you did what? And I was like, everybody don't do that? Y'all don't ask the commissioner for a one-on-one? So that's how I've gotten every opportunity. Yes, I'm a great lawyer. Yes, I'm smart. Yes, I went to the best HBCU on the planet, Hampton University. But I'm also just myself. Yeah. Nobody wants to work with people. One, they don't know. If I don't know you, I don't trust you. And people know me, and they know me well enough to trust me. And Essay's gonna be who she is, and she's gonna say how she feels. And I think that is why I've gotten so far ahead. It's my relationships. People want to see me win, and they want to see me win because they know I am who I say I am. I've never sold myself out for anybody. Any room I'm in, I don't care how white it is, they're gonna know the Black perspective, and everybody that's worked with me can say that, but I also have the credentials and the skill to back it up. So I think you can be authentic, but you need to be your best authentic self. A lot of people think keeping it real means not being the best, and you have to do both, right? But I think the moment that you sacrifice who you really are for success, you'll never win because you didn't win, the other person that you were representing to be won. And so that has always been my key to success, and I think it will continue to be because at the end of the day, I'd rather lose being myself than win being somebody else.
That part.
Yeah.
Man, can you just keep talking? What else you got? What else you got?
I mean, you already know how I get down.
What else you got?
You see it?
You know, I mean, I'm just going to echo what Essay said. You know, one of the things that I learned very early on is that, you know, and this is from my parents, is that you are representing all of us. And we know, we've heard that we have to be 2 times better and all those things, but it's so true. It's so true. You know, I would be in leadership meetings where it's 20 people in the room, and I'm the only Black guy in the room, and my perspective was unique, we'll just say. But one of the things that I always tell people is it's not just about having a seat at the table. We always say you have to have a seat at the table. You have to have a seat at the table. But I was like, you need to eat at that table. You need to be able to speak at that table, because if you aren't utilizing that platform to help everybody else, then you need to get up and let somebody else get at the table so they can do that. And being authentic is extremely important. and being bold and not being afraid to take chances. Knowing that you're gonna lose sometimes, you're gonna take some L's. You're not always gonna be able to hit home runs, but you have to have a belief in yourself. But you also have to know that you have to be bold, because these are times where we need bold thinkers. We need bold leadership. Because other people are being bold. The other side is as bold as you will see. That means we're going to be just as bold as we ever can be, and we're going to match that. Word for word, fire with fire, however you want to say it, because these times require boldness. You can't, if you have a position that we have, you can't hide in the shadows. This is the time more than any time to speak up, to speak out, and to speak what you believe. And having the power of story, having the power to put stories on screen and all these platforms that we have now, that's a very powerful thing. It's like sometimes athletes, sometimes entertainers don't realize the power that we have. And it's so powerful, and there's a responsibility that comes with that. But now is the time to be bold. And so just to echo, I would say that be who you are. Don't be afraid to be who you are, because you're going to have people that you'd be surprised will rally around you and will help you and will be like-minded and fellow travelers that will help you achieve your goals. But even if there's people that aren't, once you put yourself out there, you'll know very quickly who those people who are against you. And you think that they may be your friends, but once you let them know who you are, they're going to show you who they are. And it's good to know that as well. So don't be afraid. These are times where we have to be strong, where we have to be bold, and storytelling is an extremely powerful tool in that fight.
#bars. Thank y'all. Listen. So this is our final question. Tell the audience what you have coming up. What are your upcoming projects? Where they can find you? All the things.
You can find me on Instagram at unapologetically_ESE. And, I have some things in the works, but honestly, really just working at a great company and doing great things, but, always championing dope stuff like what Anthony's doing.
Let's see. So we have hopefully season 4 of Coach Prime coming out this upcoming year, but Coach Prime season 3 is on Prime Video right now. We get to see the stirring conclusion of Dion with Travis and Shador and Shiloh in their final year together. So that's on Prime Video right now. We have a documentary on Michael Strahan's daughter, Isabella, who many of us know battled cancer last year. That's coming out next week on Hulu. So wait, when does this air? I don't know. So it might already be out when you see this. But that'll be on Hulu. We have a documentary that is premiering right before the Super Bowl this weekend on Fox. Bill Belichick and Michael Strahan take a trip around New Orleans in the Madden Cruiser, and they talk football. They spend some time at the Hurricane Katrina Memorial. It's 20 years since that tragedy. So they spent some time with New Orleans native Roxy Diaz talking about Katrina and New Orleans and the resiliency of the people of New Orleans. And we have some things that are going to be hot that I can't mention right now. But we have some great things coming up in the summer and the fall. Centered around some amazing black athletes, centered around some amazing entertainers. So be on the lookout.
Awesome. Well, give it up for our guests, Anthony and Essay, y'all. Clap it up.
Thank y'all.
And I'm your host, Chanel S. Reynolds. Thank you for tuning in. See ya. Hey, what's up, y'all? I hope you enjoyed that panel discussion. Again, we're here live in New Orleans, and it has been a plethora of events throughout the week. Different concerts, different live venues, different special events, all with the purpose of moving forward the culture and driving forward that conversation of diversity, equity, inclusion. So really excited about that. I am here. I switched up the scenery if you haven't noticed. We are at Baldwin & Company, a black-owned bookstore here in downtown New Orleans. And I'm here with my good friend, Super Bowl champion, New Orleans former running back,
Cornerback.
Cornerback. I was close.
It's all good. It's
Okay.
all good.
Okay. New Orleans former cornerback. We have Greg Fassitt here. Greg, what is going on?
I am extremely excited to be here with you, to be on the show, but also to be where we are.
Yeah.
Right? This is a special place that we're at today that's unique to me. Just really honoring the heart of the culture in the city at Baldwin and Company here in the heart of downtown New Orleans, and not too far from where I grew up, right? So It's a special place, also a special time with us hosting the 11th, let me say it again, us hosting the 11th Super Bowl this current Sunday.
I love it. So yeah, you are born and raised here in New Orleans.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you went to school here.
Absolutely.
Proud HBCU graduate.
Proud HBCU. So I am born and raised in New Orleans. I went to public school here, right? And I say that because when you think about the essence of where we're currently located, it's books around us. It's the literacy plate. And a lot of what you know about New Orleans is culture. And that culture starts with education and youth. Being able to honor those like the Louis Armstrongs and Marcellus and the Trombone Shorties and PJ Mortons and so many others who contributed to the culture here in New Orleans. And so I'm a proud HBCU graduate, but it also started from the public schools here with our local boots on the ground, diverse individuals who look like us teaching us.
Yes, and look, I'm a huge PJ Morton fan, so listen, I really want to dig into your HBCU background.
Yeah.
So you went to Grambling.
I did.
Tell me about your experience there, because there is this small, conversation that you can't go to an HBCU and then also thrive in the NFL as an athlete. So let's dispel that. Let's talk about that.
All right. So that's exciting to talk about. I think you know better than almost anyone else. You work in a place that has one of the awesome, greatest legends the NFL has ever seen in Doug Williams, who was the first black quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl, since we're talking about Super Bowls, right? That same Doug Williams was a Grambling State graduate as well, who also was a quarterback for the winningest coach in college football history, which was Eddie Robinson. And so it was beautiful to see someone like Nick Saban pay homage to Eddie Robinson and his legacy at Grambling State for not just what he was able to do in terms of wins on the field, but the lives he impacted to help others win in life in general. So that's phenomenal. And I would tell you that for me, HBCU has always been about legacy. When I thought about where I would go to continue education and also where I would want to go to continue that sports career as a young guy leaving New Orleans, it was truly about where can I go and be a part of something special, a part of something that's bigger than me, a part of something that I can contribute to in the future that others will want to participate in. And for me, that was an HBCU.
Yeah.
And of course, it was the Grambling State University, right? Graham fam. And the irony about it is our motto is, Grambling is a place where everybody is somebody. And I think that's powerful as we have this conversation and you ask me that question, because what comes to me is I went to Grambling to be a contributor. But just like a lot of us who look like me, some of us are the first college attendees in our family.
Yes, absolutely.
Some of us are the first pursuing college graduates in our family. And when you are trailblazing in such a way, it's important to have the right community, the right support, relativity, and understanding. And for me, I looked and assessed that an HBCU would be able to give me that. Coming from the inner city here in New Orleans and understanding what the culture would need to be as we talk about culture for me to feel like I could thrive. And so when I arrived on campus, that was my mindset. And I would tell you the beauty about some of the challenges or these misconceived notions about HBCUs or even blacks in underprivileged communities and public schools, you do learn soft skills.
Yes.
As much as hard skills.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
You learn what it means to value what you have and to preserve what you have, which goes back to that legacy. You learn a sense of pride and power in who you are, because it's about identity. You also learn that, hey, every day's not going to be easy. And the resources might not be overflowing, But again, that teaches you how to be creative, how to be resourceful, how to be strategic.
Yeah.
And it builds that sense of, diligence and dedication. And I would tell you, my experience going into an HBCU was ultimately what helped curate who I was able to become as a player, but then even more so the person and the contributor in life in general. Football was a vehicle. It wasn't the destination. Football was something I was going to utilize to be one of the individuals in my family that went to school for free, right? I come from humble beginnings. Like, mom wasn't like, here you go, here's a check, you can go to school, right? Dad wasn't saying, here's a bag, here you go. That did not exist.
Yeah.
But because of that, it allowed me to be able to curate something with the right mindset, which was, how do I maximize this gift of sports to also usher me into education in a way that I can get as much out of it as possible. So getting the opportunity to do that, talk to the guidance counselor, walk through my vision, like, if I have to be here anyway, how do I maximize the time I can graduate so I can get into law school quicker, right? Okay. While the school is still paying me for being a student athlete.
Right.
So it was all about that mindset for me. And when I walked through that, a couple of things she pointed out. Hey, you'd have to be able to keep a certain GPA to have eligibility to take above threshold credited hours. So that's one of the big things that make you speed it up. So when we walked through the whole spiel, I said, I can get this done on paper in less than 3 years if I can take the absolute max from start to finish. She's like, technically, yes. But you have to get approval from Doug Williams because no athlete has ever attempted that. And then you also have to get approval from our dean. Okay. Because there's a risk involved with you trying to do all of these things. So long story short, I was able to do that after my second semester as a freshman, got all the approvals that I needed, went to school year round, and ended up graduating 2 years and 11 months cum laude, right? So let's go get it. So that tells you the power and collaboration, again, at HBCUs to see the vision and understand, that play. And in doing so, I walked across the stage before my senior season plan in football, which really allowed me to be super intentional about how I strategize my hours from that point forward and my schedule so that I can maximize the opportunity that scouts were providing for me to get looks to open up a pathway to play in the NFL. And so that was 2007. Okay. Was my first year in the NFL.
Wow. Okay. And what year, can we get a zoom in on the championship ring? now what year was this?
This is the infamous, 15-year anniversary of this championship was yesterday, 2/7. It was yesterday, 2/7/2010, when we had a party with the Lombardi, Who Dat Nation, in Miami, right? That Super Bowl team, 2009-2010 season, with the great Drew Brees, one of the NFL all-time greats, leading us to the big day. And so I want to go back to something you mentioned. You asked the question. You said, "What would you say to ultimately cast clarity on this discussion of can you be successful, as an athlete coming from an HBCU, and then life in general, right?" So, at the time when I decided to attend the HBCU, statistically, I want to be very intentional when I say this, HBCUs had the most NFL players in the Hall of Fame. The number one leading HBCU that contributed the most players to the Hall of Fame was Grambling State.
Period.
So, if you talk about the sport,
yes,
and we talk about the highest level of performance,
yes,
then we have to pay homage to those who were able to put on gold jackets at the highest level of frequency, which is HBCUs.
Yes.
Right? So when you ask about football, you can't talk about football without thinking about Doug Williams, without thinking about Walter Payton, Jackson State, without thinking about Michael Strahan.
Yes.
Like you cannot talk about football without honoring Jerry Rice, who was in the SMAC. So when we say, Shannon Sharp, the list goes on. So when you say that, you have to be able to understand there's tangibles, right? So in a game of football, we talk about skill and will, right? And skill is really simple. You can't manufacture being 6'7",
right,
and 260 pounds, right? Like you can't manufacture the height. So that's kind of a skill thing. It's a talent that is given, right? So you own it, you possess it. But the will part is more about the dedication, the characteristics, the mindset, the discipline. And you can be 6'7" and 260 with all of the physical gifts, But without the will, aka the mindset and the approach,
that hustle.
you can't maximize that.
Yeah.
Now, why do I say that? Because one thing that you find that is extreme commonality amongst all HBCU players who have gone on to play in the NFL is there's a high level of dedication.
Yeah.
There's a high level of discipline. There's a high level of resilience. There's a high level of perseverance.
Yes.
Right? That they embody because what? Go back to what I said. They come from humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Where you didn't have the same access to resources. Right? Where there's other teams who are catching a 2.5-hour flight to a game and you're on the bus for 18 hours.
And not even to go too deep down the rabbit hole with this, but that even translates to the professionals that's in the industry. Like when we walk around in the office, we just have a different level of confidence.
Yes.
We have a different level of passion, perseverance, resistance, resilience. It's different.
It's different.
It's different.
You got a different glow,
Yes.
right? Because you know that you're as prepared for whatever can come your way.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
And I think the HBCUs really helps position and curate that. So when you get there, right, Jerry Rice, with all due respect, like Jerry Rice has a NFL record for the most NFL records, right? So this is truly out of respect. Jerry Rice will tell you, he's like, I wasn't the fastest, jumped the highest, strong, But what you would not do is outwork me.
You can't outwork me.
Period.
You can't outwork me.
And so that is not just Jerry. That transcends to so many other players because it's a mindset, right? It's a mentality. But I would also say it's the honoring of legacy. Because when you think about the essence of what HBCUs really represent, it was an opportunity for people who look like us to get something that people didn't want us to have access to. It was a place that we had to go.
Yes.
So a lot of those NFL guys that we're talking about, they ended up in HBCUs twofold. To honor the legacy and push forward what's already being done. But then to say, we'll go wherever we have to go, but we're still going to compete and be better than you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yes.
And so that's something that I think has been absolutely beautiful. But to answer that question again, I think you can most definitely thrive going through an HBCU.
1000% agree. 1,000,000% agree. So, going from football, transitioning to life after football. Tell us about what you're doing now.
Yes, life after football. I would also just want to maximize this opportunity on a platform to talk about the transition. And, the amazing part is that as an athlete, professionally, you receive a level of accolades and appreciation and validation and, affirming for what you're doing. The challenging part for most is that if you're not aware and intentional, you'll get confused on who the man behind the mask is, because when the mask comes off, the praise leaves, right? The accolades go away. That recognition and validation, it mitigates. And so at that point, who are you? Are you a player or the person? And the transition focuses on you as the person.
Wow.
And many times there's a rebirth that has to happen.
Wow.
Because the death of who you were shows up. More often than not, we joke in the community, right? Because it's a brotherhood. But the NFL, right? We say, what's the NFL stand for? I love to ask kids when I'm speaking, right, at schools. They go, what's that NFL stand for? I'm like, National Football League. And I'm like, yes, but no. It's not for long. Right? So the average NFL career is less than 3 seasons. So you're talking about a very brief snapshot in life. The reason that is so key is because the not for long business is usually a business that you don't retire from, it retires you. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
You don't quit it.
Yes.
It usually quits you.
It quits you.
So let's be real, right?
Yes.
Whether we're talking about a relationship in life, whether we're talking about friendship, partnership, a job, it doesn't feel good getting fired.
Right.
And that's ultimately what happens. So for most players, even some of the greatest, right? You can go 10 years, 12 years. It's all love until one day it ain't.
Until it ain't.
And at that point, usually we're not saying, it's been real, Chanel. I did my thing. My time is up. I'm leaving. No, it's usually, baby, give me one more chance, right? It's usually another opportunity to keep going. And I think a part of it, listen, I'm not trying to speak for all athletes when I say this. This is my opinion. I think a part of it is because we have long ingratiated ourselves and identified ourselves as the player. And I will be super real. It is hard. You think about the Super Bowl championship team and that run, and every time we stepped in a dome and me being on a field, it's electric.
Yeah.
Like you cannot replace it. You can't substitute it. It's hard to even explain at times. It can be addictive. So now you're saying you want me to let that go and give that up, right? So not even just the, hey, you did a great job, but the energy of people celebrating something and coming together for and towards something. And so I say that to say, man, that transition can be really tough when you're letting it go, because usually you're getting quit. And so that mindset becomes unworthiness.
Wow.
Lack of value, right? You're questioning, and you go into this this realm of being on a loop and saying, okay, what was it that contributed, and so on and so forth. And so I can speak personally for me. My exit from the NFL wasn't a, hey, farewell, I'm good, I'm done. My exit from the NFL actually came after my highest high. So my exit from the NFL was the season after we won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
When I'm like, man, this is amazing.
Yes.
It's on, like, we just put on for the city, right? Like, I'm in the history books, and even that transparently. So at the time of that Super Bowl, basically 2010, Greg Fassitt became a part of the history books in sports for being the first individual to be a native of the team that he won the Super Bowl with.
Wow.
Little old me, right? Little old Grambling State kid, little old New Orleans native, like that guy.
Yeah.
And you're telling me, 12 months-ish from there, NFL career totally different. So it was a point in time I was having some challenges in my health. And I could still play, but I didn't feel like myself. And I started wondering what was going on. Long story short, I pulled the layers back, getting treatment, and the treatment wasn't effective. And then went to see a doctor, and it's like, oh, it's a strain. Listen, when you're an athlete, you're not a doctor, so I want to be clear. It's not saying that you think you're a doctor, but you're very familiar with your body. Right? And so I'm like, hey, man, I done played some things. Does not feel like a strain.
Yeah.
It felt much worse. Ended up challenging and getting a second opinion, had to see a specialist, and was identified that I had torn labrum in my hip.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, what does this mean? And so once they went in for surgery, there was a huge identification that technically there had been some challenges for a very long time that was transpiring. And I was basically told I had a torn labrum in my left hip, and that I had a degenerative condition that wore down cartilage. So I was playing unknowingly bone on bone.
Oh my goodness.
And so I'm like, oh.
Painful.
But it was showing itself in a different way through other injuries.
Okay.
Right? And so as a result of that, the doctor literally told me, I'm looking at your MRI and your x-ray, and I'm baffled because I don't even understand how you've been playing the game.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, sir, I didn't come in here for that. I was thinking maybe we'll do a little cut, little scope, little something, a little bit of cortisone, and I'm on my way to get back well. And I would tell you maybe 26 years old, I think I was at the time, I was told, you have two choices. We go in and do the surgery immediately. And it's not just your left hip, it's your right hip too. But we'll start with the worst. And we can do that and get you into a place of quality of life. And when you're in your 30s, you'll have a chance to play with your kids. You can keep playing, and I can't guarantee you'll be able to walk after you're 30.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what are you talking about? So again, high is high, and probably the lowest low at that moment. Because for me, football wasn't my identity. It wasn't the dream and the vision. I didn't mention that part, but I didn't start playing football until I was a junior in high school. I stumbled into football.
Oh my goodness.
So I wasn't one of those guys that grew up like, yeah, I'm going to make it. Wasn't me. I was an inner city kid. Music was my first love because this is New Orleans. And eventually,
singing?
Trumpet.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to be Louis Armstrong. Saxophone. That was my first love. And I did music up until my sophomore year. And it was a coach see me playing at football at lunchtime. It's like, man, you're talented. You should come join the team. I said, bro, y'all lose. And ain't nothing about me about losing. That's not going to happen. He said, well, I'll make a deal with you. We got a good thing going. We're building something different. We win this year. You promised to come out. They did, so I did. And honestly, the rest was history.
Nice.
Yeah. So 2 years later, scholarship to Grambling State. 4 years from there, NFL.
Wow.
And 4 years from there, Super Bowl champion. And so it came full circle. And I had to remember that my identity wasn't as a player, but it was still really challenging to say, I've gotten to a certain place in my career. Let's just say career, right? Whether we're talking any profession, in my career, and it's being snatched away at the blink of an eye. And so it was a lot for me to process. What could I have done differently? What will I do next, right? What does this mean for myself, my family, and all of the things? And so it was a super, super challenging time. And I remember going into surgery in Vail, Colorado, and coming out of surgery and realizing at that point, like, the gravity of it, because my leg is in this really unique sling and I have literally no control over anything. And I had to get on a bike, and I'm like, wait, there's like a part of the procedure you have to, I'm like, I can't even walk. It was like, yeah, we're gonna help you, but you're gonna have to move this leg. Here's why I say that. Because I go from being a black college player, you know, super athletic. I've been fast my entire life. That was one of my strong suits. You know, I ran 4.33 40 coming out of college, right? So as skilled guys, that's running.
Yeah.
And now that guy can't even walk. I had to learn literally how to walk again.
Oh my goodness.
And so it was a journey mentally and emotionally, a big time challenge. I needed help with absolutely everything. So you go from being like this football player with 3.5% body fat and can do all of the things to saying, hey, I need to use the bathroom. Can you help me? Hey, I need to take it. Like, can you bathe? That was tough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is tough. And I'm going through this quote unquote healing journey of post-surgery, but I am so far away from healing mentally and emotionally because I am traumatized every day with the new phases of the journey. And it's actually the first time I've talked about this publicly, with the new phases of the journey and how it challenged who I knew myself to be. And I had to lean into some of those very attributes, right? The HBCU-oriented attributes, the quote-unquote underprivileged community attributes, where you have to learn how to do more with less, where you have to learn how to be persistent and resilient. And even if you don't think you have it, knowing that the faith that you have is going to fuel you through. And so, man, I really appreciate my family during that time.
Wish that we could like unpack a little bit more. Yeah, because I want to hear, we got to get you back on the show. Okay. I want to hear how, because you're a man of God, I want to hear how your faith helped bring you through this tough time. Greg, you are doing some amazing things. Thank you for stopping by the show. Absolutely. This has been absolutely amazing, and we got to get you back.
I would love to come back.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
For sure.
Summertime's here, and we outside. For real. Before I even step out the door, OnStar has the car chilled and ready with remote start. And the whole crew, we locked in with an in-vehicle Wi-Fi hotspot, thanks to OnStar. Watching shows, playing music, and catching vibes. And when I'm rolling on the highway, Super Cruise driver assistance tech lets me kick back hands-free. From family cookouts to road trips with the crew, OnStar keeps the good times going, no matter where we're headed. OnStar, better never stops.